While at an event, game designer Ron Gilbert witnessed a 5-year-old kid attempting to play his acclaimed title, The Secret of Monkey Island. It's a point-and-click adventure game, the kind where the player combines verbs and objects on the screen to solve brain teasers and experience the story. But this 5-year-old had a different experience. They would click around the screen, eventually figuring out how to open doors and move their character around. They didn't know what the game was asking of them, yet they were completely engrossed. The kid walked around the game's world for at least an hour, not progressing in the way that Gilbert and his team at LucasArts intended, but still having a great time. It was this moment that Gilbert cites as the genesis of Humongous Entertainment, a company he started with fellow LucasArts producer Shelley Day. The intent was to create adventure games for kids, not edutainment titles, but true adventure games aimed at a young audience. The first title, Putt-Putt Joins the Parade, released in 1992. And for the next 10 years, Humongous Entertainment created a whole suite of titles in the Junior Adventure series. They sold millions of copies and left an impact on an entire generation of kids, myself included. Because I actually used to work in children's media. Admittedly, not for very long, but long enough to win an Emmy Award, if you'll permit the flex. Making children's media is tough, and not all of it is created equally. It's relatively easy to provide a colorful distraction, but it's another discipline to make something worthwhile and educational. How does one explain complicated concepts in a way that a kid can understand? How can you keep them engaged while doing so? It has to strike a balance. It can't feel too much like a class, but it has to provide some sort of cognitive benefit. It has to be easy to understand, but not talk down to the audience. Children's media stares directly into a paradox. School isn't fun, but learning is a blast. The Junior Adventure games are educational, but they aren't tied in with any specific curriculum. They're not intended for a specific grade level. I mean, look at this, for ages 3 through 8. That's a huge range. That's preschool through 3rd grade. These games aren't going to teach their users how to read, write, or calculate, but they will encourage the fundamental act of learning. They will encourage curiosity. I want to pick apart these Junior Adventure games and see how they work. How are they able to strike that balance between playing and learning? How are they able to be accessible to kids as young as 3 while being engaging for kids as old as 8, 9, or 10? What do these games actually teach, if anything? Well, let's go on some adventures and see what we can find. The Junior Adventure games share the same DNA as classic point-and-click adventure games. Like Maniac Mansion, King's Quest, or Myst, the player explores an open-ended environment and solves puzzles by collecting items and using them in unexpected ways. These games are relatively slow-paced and put an emphasis on world-building and story. The Junior Adventures feature 4 mascots. Putt-Putt is a purple car with a golden heart. He and his dog Pep help the citizens of Cartown with their various troubles. Putt-Putt is a good kid, always ready to pitch in. Freddy Fish is a goldfish detective who solves mysteries in her aquatic hometown. She and her pal Luther find themselves in the midst of several sinister scenarios. Pajama Sam is a kid who learns how to overcome his fears. He dresses like his favorite comic book hero and ventures into strange and surreal worlds where his deepest anxieties lie. Spy Fox is a smooth-talking secret agent sent on missions to overthrow evil masterminds. His games are send-ups of spy films, complete with outrageous plots and gadgets. These 4 series appeal to different age groups and sort of grow up with their audience. Putt-Putt is intended for the youngest of players. His games feature the simplest stories and are the easiest to complete. Freddy Fish is a little more complex. Pajama Sam leans more into humor and features more intricate worlds and puzzles. And Spy Fox is intended for the oldest of kids, as his games are by far the most complex of the bunch. A child could, in theory, graduate from one series to another while still finding enjoyment from all of them. There's also Fatty Bear, an early mascot who only starred in a single game. He's a teddy bear who comes to life when everyone else is asleep. His game is fun, though admittedly not as exciting as what the other mascots have to offer. It should also be noted that Humongous Entertainment made games outside of the Junior Adventure series. Backyard Sports was a huge deal. There were also the Junior Field Trips with Buzzy the Knowledge Bug, The Big Thinkers games were more traditional educational fare, and they also had a partnership with Nick Jr. to develop games based on Blue's Clues, so they had quite the spread of titles, though I want to focus on the junior adventures for now. Here's a question for the ages. How do you convince someone to play your game? A title needs to be appealing and accessible to a young player for any of these games to work at all. The first thing anyone notices about a game is its art direction. The first three junior adventures, Putt-Putt Joins the Parade, Putt-Putt Goes to the Moon, and Fatty Bear's Birthday Surprise, feature pixel art graphics. The art direction on these are great. I love the look of Fatty Bear's house. Just look at the angles of everything. The use of color on the moon is just fantastic. But for as good as they look, they still look like computer games. Partway through the development of their fourth game, the leadership at Humongous went to an industry conference. There, they saw an in-development build of a children's game from a rival company that featured hand-drawn animation and was running at a higher picture resolution. Inspired, or maybe scared, by what they saw, Humongous threw out the visuals of their next game and started fresh with a new animation style. The result was Freddy Fish and the Case of the Missing Kelp Seeds. And oh man, does this game look incredible. Freddy and Luther have so much personality in their performance. The backgrounds look amazing. Like, look at this sunken ship. Look at this throne room. Importantly, Freddy Fish looks like a cartoon, not a computer game. It doesn't go toe-to-toe with The Little Mermaid, obviously, but it looks a lot more like that than a game on the Super Nintendo. Freddy Fish was a big hit for the company. From then, all of the junior adventures would feature hand-drawn animation. They would be playable cartoons. And they took some big swings with the animation. Look at the way Pajama Sam moves when he has this log on his head. Look at the sharp, angular designs of Spy Fox. Look at these backgrounds. These look so cool. It goes just beyond looking good though. Since these games look like something you'd see on TV, they're more approachable, and thus accessible, to a kid who might not play video games. Like a TV show, each game is fully voiced. Every character is brought to life through spoken dialogue, further bridging the gap between media that's watched and media that's played. The voice acting's purpose is twofold. Remember, these games are intended for children as young as 3 years old. A portion of the audience are pre-readers. If all of the dialogue is spoken, a child who is unable to read will still be able to understand it, provided they speak the language that's being spoken. Beyond that, the games feature very little written text. For the most part, all information is communicated visually. If there is text, clicking on it will make the character read it out loud.
It says Baldini's Grocery Store.
Text appears more frequently in the titles aimed at older kids, such as the Pajama Sam or Spy Fox games. In No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside, Sam will come to a door that asks multiple choice questions. This is a lot of text, but it's all spoken. If the player hovers over an answer without clicking on it, Sam will read it for them.
The Pacific Ocean.
Personally, I appreciate how enthused the characters are to read the text. They never seem annoyed or like they're trying to help the player.
It says deck party, invitation only.
Tonally, the junior adventure games never talk down to their players. They treat their audience as equals, trusting that they'll understand its world and what to do within it. Putt-Putt, Freddy Fish, and Pajama Sam are all kids, but they're entrusted with great responsibilities. They don't ask adults for help, they can accomplish what they set out to do on their own. They can overcome problems and face their fears, and I think that's a great tone to set for a kid's game. Spy Fox doesn't have a stated age, though he is implied to be an adult. A young player gets to go on an espionage adventure as the main guy? That's awesome. Personally, I think this is why Fatty Bear didn't really catch on as a character. In his game, he is trying to set up a birthday party for his human friend, Kayla. He decorates a room, makes a cake, and wraps a present, which is a dog? Fatty, man, don't do this, dude. Fatty Bear is a caretaker, taking on the role of a parent. Fatty Bear acknowledges that his audience is kids. Instead of a kid joining a parade on his own, the kid is taken care of. Besides that, the junior adventures strike a great tone. They are funny without relying on cheap humor or references, which make them feel timeless. The art direction and writing are top-notch. these games are appealing and accessible to as many potential players as possible. Okay, but how do these games actually work? The Junior Adventures feature lock and key puzzles. The player picks up an object in one location, then uses that object in another to solve some sort of riddle. These games are all about exploration and thinking about things in new and different ways. In other words, curiosity. Each game begins with a short tutorial that introduces both the control scheme and the general mythos for how to progress. The character will be on a single screen that they cannot leave until they accomplish some sort of task. These games were originally released in the 90s and early 2000s, right as personal computers became more commonplace. It's second nature to us nowadays, but there was once a time when the concept of moving an object on a desk to move a cursor on a screen was something that had to be taught. The Junior Adventures keep things simple by only using the mouse and the left click button. If you can get the hang of that one input, you're in the clear. Right away, the player is rewarded for clicking on stuff. Each screen of the Junior Adventure games are filled with these little click points that play some sort of animation. If the cursor is highlighted, the object can be clicked on. If not, nothing will happen. So the player is encouraged to click on anything and everything, because something entertaining will happen no matter what. In the process, the player learns the grammar of the game, how the changing mouse cursor means different things. The player will also learn that clicking on things is the way to progress the game. In No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside, the player has to find 3 of Sam's belongings to progress the game. Most of the things in his bedroom just lead to gags, but 3 of them will be beneficial. This mentality carries the player through the entire game. Feel free to experiment with everything. Some stuff will be just for fun, and some of it will lead you where you need to go. Some of these click points are crazy complicated. Clicking all around a screen can turn a scene into complete chaos. Look at these dancing penguins. I love it. I'll give you exactly one guess as to what happens when you click on this pillow. Okay, you ready? Who came up with that? And have they always known that they were a genius? These silly click points have been a staple of the Junior Adventure series since the very beginning. I can't help but think about that kid playing Monkey Island and clicking on everything. These games seem tailor-made to cater to that instinct, to encourage curiosity and facilitate play. The Junior Adventures are structured like scavenger hunts. A character needs to find a collection of items to complete an overarching quest. In Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo, 6 baby animals have been separated from their parents. Our heroic car needs to find all of them for the zoo to open. The game has 6 quests going on at the same time, as opposed to one long quest that needs to be completed in a specific order. Each of the animal quests involves finding the baby animal, finding an item that will get the animal out of their predicament, and then solving some sort of problem by putting the 2 of them together. For example, this seal can't leave this small pool of water since the dam has been raised. Putt-Putt will need to find a toolbox in another region of the zoo, then backtrack and select the correct wrench to lower the gate so the seal can't escape. Near where Putt-Putt finds the toolbox, he also finds a giraffe who is stuck behind a raised drawbridge and a lion cub stranded in a waterfall. While finding step 2 on one track, we found step 1 on 2 others. This means that the player always feels like they're making some sort of progress. If they get stuck on one track, there are others that can be worked on. Curiosity and problem-solving skills will continue to be rewarded. How do you find things, and in what ways do you put them together? Most of the Junior Adventures are set up this way. Thunder and Lightning Aren't So Frightening tasks Pajama Sam with finding all the pieces of a broken weather machine. 4 quests. In Putt-Putt Goes to the Moon, he needs to find the pieces of a rocket ship in order to make it home. 5 quests. But not all of them share the same formula. Spy Fox in Dry Cereal takes a more linear approach. Spy Fox will need to solve a series of puzzles in a specific order. As a result, it feels a lot more like a holistic story, though it does increase the odds of a player getting stuck. Notably, this structure is reserved for the series with the oldest target audience. The only exception is the first Freddy Fish, though her subsequent games change to the more open-ended progression. In order to complete a scavenger hunt, the player needs to be able to navigate around a map. This too is a major element of the Junior Adventure formula. The fifth adventure, Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo, is the first game with its signature map layout. Once Putt-Putt drives through the zoo gates, he will find himself at a crossroads. Going west will take him to Arctic land, north will take him to the grasslands, east will take him to jungle land, and south will take him back to the entrance. The zones themselves are set up in a linear fashion, with no forks in the road outside of the entrance screen. The grasslands are set up like a straight line, whereas jungle land is set up like a loop. The implied camera is always pointing in the same direction, too. It sits on the south side of each screen and points towards the north. This makes it so the characters always point in the same direction. Screen left will always be west, and screen right will always be east. Navigating the zoo is a challenge, and that the player will need to figure out how all of its pieces fit together. But it won't be difficult to figure out how to get from one side of the zoo to the other. Also, the map isn't especially large, so it's easier to remember where everything is. The following two games, Pajama Sam No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside and Freddy Fish 2 The Case of the Haunted Schoolhouse, put their characters in a central hub with spokes pointing in different directions. Sam will find himself at a crossroads, which leads to the main entrances of the mines, the treehouse, the river, and the forest. Freddy and Luther will have 4 corridors to explore outside of the schoolhouse, which sits at the center of the map. This is made especially obvious in Putt-Putt Travels Through Time, where the main hub is a void with 4 portals, each leading to a different, self-contained time period. This easy-to-understand design is helped by the bold colors and clear paths. This is a game all about exploring, poking around, and solving problems, and the map facilitates these goals. The puzzles themselves are all about finding out which keys go with which locks. A problem will be in one area, and the player will need to find an object somewhere else to solve it. The exact logic that's being used varies from puzzle to puzzle. Sometimes the solution is literal. If there are metal tacks in the way, a magnet will pick them up. An ominous fishing line can be cut with scissors. Sometimes the solution tests the player's logic. If an apartment building is set up like a grid, how do you know which door is the right one? How can you use mirrors to change the direction of a laser beam? Sometimes they reinforce basic math. Putt-Putt Joins the Parade tasks the player with counting the houses to deliver groceries. Freddy Fish will count her purple sea urchins one by one as she hands them off. Fatty Bear will count the balloons as he inflates them, but the puppy will run in and pop them. Basic addition and subtraction. Pajama Sam even solves a physics puzzle. These aren't going to teach a player how to do math, rather they're there to reinforce the basics. Other puzzles lean more into the cartoony side of things though. A dog wants a bone. A mouse wants cheese. That sort of thing. Some of the games get more abstract with things, like putting a log on your head to prove that you're a tree, or using putty to copy a party invitation. The complexity of the quest paths vary from series to series. In the games aimed at younger players, the quests usually only have a single step. In the series that skew a little older, the quests will have a couple extra steps. One key opens a lock, which nets another key for a second lock, which then completes the quest. It's yet another way the games grow up with their audience and appeal to different age groups. If I had to be a little critical of the Junior Adventures, I do think the puzzles vary in quality quite a bit. While these games aren't explicitly educational, I do think they could have leaned into the real-world problem-solving a little bit more. Take this puzzle in Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo. He finds the baby snake in the Arctic region. He's cold and needs to warm up somehow. What you're supposed to do is get hot chocolate from the concession stand and give it to the snake. He'll drink it and he'll warm up. This makes sense on a cartoon level, but the fuddy-duddy in me wonders if this is a missed opportunity to talk about how snakes are cold-blooded. Cold-blooded animals can't regulate their body temperature. Maybe if Putt-Putt found something that could stand in for, a heating lamp, that would be an opportunity to learn a little factoid about reptiles. This is just one example, but it's emblematic of what I consider to be the Junior Adventure's biggest shortcoming. There are opportunities to bake knowledge about the solar system, dinosaurs, weather, and nutrition into the puzzles themselves, but they're rarely capitalized on. In fairness, the puzzles encourage the player to think laterally. If you run into a problem in real life, there are ways to solve it. You, the kid playing this game, are smart. You can figure this out. The puzzles are less about learning specific facts and more about learning how to learn. Once a kid finishes a playthrough, we run into another challenge. How does a junior adventure encourage the player to return for another run? Each of these games only lasts about an hour or so. Even though they have a somewhat lackadaisical pace, it always feels like progress is being made, since the conclusion is never too far away. Luckily, they make that short runtime worth it. Every playthrough of a junior adventure is slightly different. Many puzzles are designed, but only a few of them appear in a single playthrough. This makes each visit with the software different from the last time. The puzzles cannot be memorized. In Putt-Putt Travels Through Time, Putt-Putt will lose 4 things: his dog Pep, his calculator, his lunchbox, and his homework. Each will end up in one of 4 time periods: prehistory, medieval Europe, the Wild West, and the distant future. There are 4 possible places the calculator could be, and thus 4 different puzzles that have been designed around it. Each of the 4 items have 4 corresponding puzzles, one for each time period as well. 16 total quest lines were designed for the game, but only 4 will appear in a playthrough. When starting a game of Putt-Putt Travels Through Time, there are 24 possible ways the game can play out. Freddy Fish 3: The Case of the Stolen Conch Shell takes things a step further. The story is a whodunit mystery with 6 suspects. Each playthrough will end with a different suspect being the culprit. It's worth replaying the game multiple times just to see all the endings. Since the game is short and features different puzzles each time, it's totally worth doing. This is yet another way the junior adventure games encourage curiosity. These games cannot be memorized. Humongous Entertainment wanted its players to explore, to keep asking questions, to keep discovering more about the world. Humongous Entertainment was acquired by GT Interactive, who was later acquired by Infogrames. Co-founders Ron Gilbert and Shelley Day attempted to purchase the company from Infogrames in 2000 with external funding, but that fell through due to, of all things, the dot-com bubble stock market crash. They left the company not long after. In 2001, Infogrames laid off 40% of the staff at Humongous and shifted its focus to the Backyard Sports series. That year saw the release of the final 2 junior adventure games, Freddy Fish 5: The Creature of Coral Cove, and Spy Fox: Operation Ozone. The junior adventure dynasty only lasted 10 years. It kind of boggles my mind how they were able to make 18 of these games in such a short time frame, let alone having all of them be great. If Fatty Bear is the low point, we're in good company. A 7th Putt-Putt game and a 4th Pajama Sam game were released in 2003. I kind of consider these non-canon, the Humongous Entertainment Apocrypha, if you will. These were made by a different, smaller team on a scant budget using unfamiliar tools. These games lacked the spirit of the titles that preceded them and marked the official end of the junior adventures. In hindsight, the junior adventures were at the right place at the right time. The 90s saw a mass adoption of Windows and Macintosh computers. Kids who grew up in that era were the first generation to use computers from a young age. They were this new and exciting thing, common but not quite ubiquitous. I do wonder how well these titles have aged though, as in if they're still appealing to kids all these years later. While the games were designed to be timeless, they do belong to a genre that isn't as popular anymore. They are slower paced and require a fairly long attention span. The gratification of solving a puzzle isn't instant. At the same time, they do get at something almost primordial, that exploring and discovering and figuring stuff out is fun. When Putt-Putt gets his first car wash, he's scared, yet he comes out of the other side feeling better. It's not unlike going to the doctor or dentist as a kid. Freddy Fish is smart and brave, always being inquisitive and standing up for what's fair. Pajama Sam learns how to overcome his fear of the dark, of thunderstorms and unfamiliar foods. Spy Fox is brimming with imagination, asking why the world works in the way that it does. While the methods in which kids learn are constantly changing, there are things that will remain universal for the foreseeable future. I feel like all of us have been that kid playing Monkey Island all those years ago. The world is full of so much knowledge that it's impossible to understand it all. There are so many things to discover and experience in a single lifetime. We should continue to ask questions. We should keep an open mind as we discover things that we didn't know before. We should try to see the world in a new light and find solutions we would never have thought of before. And we should, above all else, stay curious. The first computer game I ever played was from Humongous Entertainment, but it wasn't one of the Junior Adventures. It was Let's Explore the Airport from the Field Trip series. Over on the Animator Patreon, I did a Let's Play of this game that I have not played in literal decades. That video is only available at patreon.com/Iamdot. There, you get access to new main channel videos days before they drop on YouTube, a whole lot of exclusive bonus videos, and other cool stuff. Thank you so much for your support.